Welcome to this week's market drama. We'll begin with the S&P 500, which was down 2% for the week. NASDAQ was down even more, down 3.6% for the week. Dow Jones was up 0.7%, and the Russell 2000 was up even more. So what's going on here? Well, it turns out the Russell 2000, which looks at a much broader set of stocks, essentially kind of having a more small cap tilt than an S&P 500 or a NASDAQ, has surged 7.7% over the last 2 weeks. And it's an indicator here, in my mind, of a rotation in the markets towards a potential interest rate cut later this year, while the economy actually continues to do fairly well. And that was shown this past week with retail sales jumping 0.8% in June, well above consensus, and the most since January of 2023. Retail sales is a great broad indicator of how the consumer is doing in the United States. The consumption, right? Consumer buying stuff is more than 68% of GDP, right? So retail sales are holding up. That's a great indicator the economy is holding up. So you have this perfect storm of inflation coming down, the Fed now looking to cut interest rates, and the economy holding up, right? So that's really led to this rotation within the markets towards small cap stocks and more value stocks that think of like the financial sector, industrial sector, that tend to have more of a cyclical tilt to the economy actually doing fairly well. There is also another component here, which is, so it's growing confidence that the Fed will cut rates. The other one is shift in expectations for former President Trump to win the election, right? So the polls kind of shifted, and therefore the markets adjusted for that. Former President Trump has had pro-growth policies such as lower corporate tax rates and lower regulation for financials. So all of that definitely felt into effect the last week when it came to markets returns. So continued rotation into new market leadership of these small cap and value shares versus the large or mega cap stocks in the growth sector, in the technology sector, which have been the ones leading the way over the last couple of years, really. So that's the story for this past week. Next week, we have initial second quarter GDP on Thursday, which will give us an indication of how the economy is faring. And then we have PCE inflation data for June on Thursday on the other side of the equation of, do we continue to see inflation deceleration, right, over that we've seen over the last couple of months continue. That is it for this week. Stay tuned for next week.